All right, and my deck is a pretty close to Todd's deck in some regards, but is also a little different because it is Mardu, so it has the extra red color, and
Yeah.
that's it. Otherwise, the same deck. Now, it's actually a completely different strategy altogether. Basically, I wanted to try to abuse the most metal card they've printed in a while, which is Brutal Horde Chief.
Yeah.
He definitely has the sweetest name and art that I've seen since Fleshbag Marauder.
Yeah,
I don't know.
he's kind of a badass.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
he's a
lie.
bit of a badass. So I think this card's really cool. He has the Heaven Rider ability, where
So he's riding clean, is what
yeah,
you're saying?
he's riding super
He's not
clean.
riding dirty, like
No.
Hell Rider.
So whenever a creature attacks, they lose a life, you gain a life.
Yep.
You can't kill planeswalkers with it, which you could with Hell Rider, which is a little bit of a downside, but it is insane in racing conditions because you get to gain some life back. So
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be particularly abusive with token generators.
interesting that you would say that because that's what I'm trying to do.
All right, well, let's take a look.
Yep. So we have Raise the Alarm and Hordling Outburst, some token generators that we're going to use alongside Brutal Horde Chief to try to drain Todd out of this game.
No. I actually just noticed, aside from the mana base, we only have 3 cards in common. I thought that there was a lot more.
Yes.
But
yeah.
this is literally the only card we're sharing.
Yeah, that's it, actually.
Yeah.
That is kind of interesting. And Brutal Horde Chief actually has another ability, too. I don't think this one's going to be as relevant, but it is super game-breaking if the game goes long. You can spend 3 and then 2 white-red hybrid to basically decide how your opponent blocks. They have to block with everything, but you get to set up those blocks how you want. So
Yeah, so if you have one big guy, you just put their little guy under the bus. If they have a bunch of little guys, you put them all on your one token, and then the rest of your guys get through unblocked.
Yeah.
It seems particularly good against Elspeth, actually.
It is, yeah.
And no matter how many tokens they have, you just activate it, and then you just get to control how they block with all of their tokens. And usually that means you're going to be able to kill Elspeth, which is gigantic. So.
Or kill them, yeah.
Yeah, either way.
Yeah, so it's like, well, I have this Goblin Rabblemaster Goblin. I guess, those 19 guys can all just kind of gang up on that. the rest of us are going to try to sneak back past the fence. And then to top it off, we have Wingmate Rock because we have all these random tokens lying around, but we don't necessarily have something to do with them. Wingmate gives us something good to do with them, along with...
you don't mind just jamming one of your Hordling Outburst tokens under the bus against a Siege Rhino, just that way you can make a Wingmate Rock token. That seems like a fair trade.
Yeah, it's a little... I don't know, 1/1 Goblin versus a 3/4 Flyer. It's like close. It's close. Yeah. And then another card that's new that I'm trying out is Outpost Siege. And I think that this card's actually really good. Out of all the Sieges, I think it's the best behind Siege Rhino, obviously. But basically, it's 3 and a red, and you get to choose either Khans or Dragons when you play it. And if you choose Khans, every upkeep, you exile the top card of your library, and you can play it that turn. So it's basically like Chandra's 0 ability.
Sure.
And if you choose Dragons, whenever any creature would leave play on your side, you get to deal 1 damage to target creature or player.
Yeah, that second ability seems much more powerful in this token-based archetype. But I could see like a dry board state in against a removal-heavy opponent where you just cast Outpost Siege and just start getting an extra card every turn, kind of like a Fire Extinction Arena. So, yeah, the card seems really good.
Yeah, both abilities seem super relevant in this deck, and so I'm really excited to try that card out. I think it could be a definite breakout card in Standard. But other than that, it's just a pretty straightforward Mardu deck. Nothing too crazy about it. And, yeah, we have a bunch of mountains for Chain of the Rocks, but the rest of the stuff's pretty straightforward. We don't have a heavy commitment to white or black, really. We do have Wingmate Rock, but we're mostly a red-based deck.
Yeah, it looks good. Mana base looks pretty clean. So,
yeah, hopefully it's pretty sweet, but let's go ahead and look at the sideboard first. All right, so with the sideboard, we don't actually have any new Fate Reforged cards, but some of these cards I think are going to go up in value in Standard because of how I think the metagame might shift because of Fate Reforged. For example, Arc Lightning, I think, is really good as a way to get rid of Monastery Mentor and maybe a Prowess token if they're tapped out.
Okay.
Or Hordling Outburst or Raise the Alarm, as I think those cards might become more and more popular if tokens really gets a big boost from some of these new cards.
It's also pretty good against any sort of Rabble Master deck, too, because a lot of times when you're on the draw against an opposing Rabble Master, they're just going to play theirs and attack you for one. And it's really gross if you can't really cast your own Goblin Rabble Master, or if you do, your token just gets immediately eaten by their Goblin Rabble Master. But having something like Arc Lightning is to come down on turn 3 to kill the Rabble and the token is great. So
Yeah, I agree with that. And then Glare of Heresy, I think, is going to go up in stock too because of Monastery Mentor and Soulfire Grandmaster and all those new fancy cards.
No, the more I see this set, the more I think the Glare of Heresy will become a main deck card at some point.
Yeah,
like
it might.
Not at the beginning. People are going to be trying out the green guys and things like that. But with Siege Rhino, Monastery Mentor, Just Guy Ascendancy, just there's too many good white cards.
Yeah, there really are. I think white is just going to be the dominant color in Standard in my estimation. Couple of races and another Seeker. We have the 25th land for when we bring in like some of these expensive cards here, just to help us cast like Starkin along with Wingmate Rock and stuff. And then I want to bring in like Starkins and Sorens against decks that are trying to like grind me out with removal, or decks that are like much slower than me. And then basically anything where they're going to try to grind me out is where I want these cards to come in.
Yeah, sounds good.
But yeah, this is a Mardu token deck with Brutal Horde Chief and Outpost Siege. We'll see if Outpost Siege is the 4-mana Blood Artist or not.
I hope it's not, because Blood Artist is already insane.
Yeah.